Hey guys, welcome to more CALLOUS Invitational 4 content. This is a winner's bracket match, so both of these guys, regardless of what happens, are safe from elimination. Zokuru got here by beating Solwyn, Manaphy got here by beating Markov. So, here we are. One of them is going to be 2-0 and get the week off next week. The other guy going to be knocked down to the more difficult lower bracket and have to keep playing next week. Let's see how it goes. Zokuru is going to be on the bottom. Manaphy is on the top. A Celebi lead from Zokuru, which is interesting. And Titar going to be staring it down. And he's going to switch out, not BP out, to Donphan here. So I'm already getting reminders of that Osgood, Moltres, all-in on Lax team that we saw Fakes use earlier in the tour. And we're going to see a Protect here, a failed Protect here for Donphan as Kuhn comes in for Manaphy. Titar going to come into Donphan. He obviously must be predicting a switch, and he is correct. Manaphy's going to find himself against the Celebi. He showed Crunch, so he very well may have Pursuit, and Celebi did not show BP, nor does he show it again here. So again, he goes for Crunch, and I think he's playing around a Baton Pass that isn't there. I think this is, in fact, that Osgood team, and I think that means the Celebi is a Heal Bell variant. 2 crunches later on the Lax, he finds himself at 62%. One of the crunches did get a drop, and the Earthquake is shown, which, I mean, I know this team, so I'm kind of not going over all the sets because I already know what all the sets are going to be. But I suppose I could remind you guys on a couple things for those of you who are not intimately familiar with this team. Basically, the overall goal of the team is to completely support the Lax in every way. It is all in on Curse, Return, Earthquake, Rest, Lax. The last poke for Zokuru is Magneton, so it's trying to get rid of Skarm, and then Umbreon is trying to get rid of Gengar, and then from there, the Lax is supposed to do its thing, and it has all the support ever. Celebi has Heal Bell, Moltres has Sunny Day, so get rid of Sand. It just does everything you can imagine. Then we have a Spinner and Donphan, everything you can imagine to try to support that specific Lax. I personally have mixed feelings on this team. I think that it was brilliant when it was made. I think that it's very well designed for what it does. But I think now that it's known and now that the metagame has shifted, it is not as good as it once was. I think it is very much a matchup fish, and I think it has a lot of matchups that aren't good. And I think that all in on anything teams just aren't good and are just very risky business, because if you lose the win con, you just lose. And effectively, if you lose not just the win con, but I mean effectively if you lose one of the setup pieces, like let's say you lose the Magneton to the Dugtrio or something, now all of a sudden the Lax is just walled by Skarm forever. Now Manaphy is not going to have Skarm, but just an example, or say if Zokuru were to lose the Umbreon, for example, same deal. Now the Lax literally cannot touch a Gengar at all. So, like, not only are you all in on one win condition, but, like, effectively you're all in on its setup pieces, too. And that's just not the way that I like to play. But let's just see how it plays out. We haven't missed too much, even though I've been talking as opposed to narrating for a few turns. We saw a layer of spikes come down, a little bit of chip damage back and forth, and not too much else. We see that it's a Rest Roar Coon, so we obviously know what we're dealing with here. He's going to have Surf and Calm Mind as his last 2 moves. Donphan is going to get past a Wish from Umbreon here, and he's going to probably try to Rapid Spin away that 1 layer of spikes. However, a Gengar, previously unrevealed for Manaphy, is going to come in. He's going to block it. So the spikes for now are going to be there to stay. Donphan probably can't touch the Gengar. Usually Earthquake, Rapid Spin, Protect, Toxic is the set. Gengar obviously immune to both of those offensive moves. And Celebi is now going to come into Fori. Moltres is now going to come into Fori, and it's going to be Spikes layer number 2. So Zokuru has not really been able to put any meaningful pressure on Manaphy. That's one of the issues with this team. Here comes Umbreon, and okay, so that right there, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I would pause at this point, or I guess I'll let them keep playing, but Zokuru, I think, is fucked right now. Even though his Lax is totally healthy, he's at 100%, I think the game effectively just ended. With the Umbreon dying to the explosion, and I don't like that risk from Zokuru, but I guess he felt like he had to take risks to catch up, and he does catch a nice burn here on Rachi. But I don't think it matters. I think Zok is still boned. I think that he can't win. Like, He has no spikes. His Celebi is basically not offensive. Moltres just died. The Donphan and the Lax both literally cannot touch the Gengar. Neither one can touch it at all. The Celebi, I think, is HP Grass only for an attack. That's going to get crushed by Gengar. And its last poke, Magneton, which, even if it were a threat here, which it's not, there's a Dougie on the other side. So honestly, truly, I think this game's like over already. And that's just the problem with this kind of team. I mean, it's easy to say as like a results-based thing, but I think this team was a brilliant flash in the pan at the time, but I have seen countless losses with this team in subsequent times. It had great surprise value when it first came out and people didn't know what it was. People weren't prepared for it. It wasn't like now where you can look at the team and you know the sets. You're 2 turns in and you know exactly what you're up against. That's no dice. That's no bueno. I personally wouldn't play this team anymore. I think it's a noteworthy team. I think it gets a footnote or an asterisk somewhere. But I just don't think this team is up to snuff anymore. And this game, I mean, Ban Manaphy isn't running anything special. It's a cool team. It's pretty standard. I think it's a good team. Don't get me wrong. I like Ban Manaphy's team. But it's pretty standard in all honesty. I don't think he's running like a hard counter team to what Zokuru is running or anything along those lines. And I think that this game really illustrates the problem, the fundamental problem here. You lose one piece of the puzzle, in this case the Umbreon, you lose the game. The Lax is very, very healthy. That's not the problem. It isn't just keeping your win con alive, it's also keeping the pieces alive. It just feels too fragile to me, and we are going through the motions here, and that's fine and well, but I'm going to stand pretty strongly by my thought that Zokuru actually cannot win this game. Celebi trying to fight off the T-Tower anyway. Going to get killed with Pursuit on the way out. Donphan now going to come in, which is obviously a great answer to Tyranitar. The problem, don't want to be a broken record, Gengar can come in for free. Zokuru sees the writing on the wall. This was over the second the Umbreon died, and even though he's got 3 pokes left, he's going to concede. This is not premature. This is absolutely Dunyan Rings, and Ban Manaphy is going to take this one down. Hopefully Game 2, Zokuru brings a better team, I would say. And with no disrespect to Osgood, who built this team, because like I said, I think it had its place. I think it was really well designed at the time. But this is not a team that you want to bring. It is an ugly 0-2, getting hammered pretty hard both games that's been used in this tour. And I've seen it take several other losses in tour games recently as well. Time to move on. Let's see what Zokuru goes to. He's going to fight to stay in the winner's bracket in Game 2 coming up next. Which, you know what, for the sake of spoilers, whether there's a Game 2 or a Game 3, I mean, there is a Game 2, but maybe or maybe not there's a Game 3. Let's do it all in one video. Let's try something new, shall we? Let's do the whole set, even though these are replays as opposed to being live narrated. Let's just do the whole set. However many games there are, let's do them all at once. So here is the second game between Zokuru and Ban Manaphy, and obviously you guys watched up to this point, I would hope. You saw Ban Manaphy just win, so he's got to win one more. Zok needs 2 in a row. Here we go. Zok's going to be on the bottom again. He's got a T-Tar and a Zapdos for Ban Manaphy, so standard leads for both guys. A switch out, not a baton pass out, to Swampert for Ban Manaphy, and he finds himself with a favorable matchup against Claydol. And Zokuru, again, here's the problem. I'm going to pause again. For the second time this set, we're on turn 2. We know Zokuru's team. It's going to be his go-to Milo Doll team. We know the back pokes. We know there's a Dougie. We know there's Blissey. We know this whole team. Skarm's the other one. Zokuru has been very well known, very public, not only for his love of this team, but he's shared his sets, he's shared the whole team. His opponent should know immediately, right on turn 2, what he's playing against for the second time. This team, I don't think is kind of bad-ish the way the other one is. I do think that this Milo Doll team is good and is viable, but again, it's very predictable. I think that not only does Ban Manaphy right now on turn 2 know exactly what he's up against, but also I think this is the most likely thing that he was going to be up against. I think when he goes, oh, fuck, I'm up a game. Zokuru's back is against the wall. What is he most likely to bring here? What is Zokuru in this position probably going to bring? Probably going to default to? What's the most comfortable thing he would use right now? And this is just the obvious choice, right? So I bet you Ban Manaphy made his team selection with this exact team in mind, and he probably on turn 2 knows exactly what he's playing against, whereas Zokuru probably has no clue what Ban Manaphy's playing against. We saw a Zapdos and a Swampert. That could be fucking anything other than like CM spam. Zokuru is not going to have a clue what he's up against right now. Ban Manaphy is going to know the whole team on the other side. Now, I'm not saying that using a known team is a death sentence. There are absolutely times where, okay, hey, this is a BKC team, or hey, this is that team that Tama used in the playoffs or whatever. Where, people use other people's teams all the time, and that's fine. The problem here is specifically when you know immediately on turn 2 the entirety of the opponent's team versus the guy, Zokuru in this case, who's against an opponent who's not doing that. He has no clue what the opponent's against, and just like it's an unfair information advantage basically. Like imagine if you started a game with a little cheat sheet with the exact team that your opponent has laid out in front of you, just a little Word document with the exact team that you're against right in front of you, and your opponent doesn't have that. Isn't that obviously a big advantage? Of course it is, and I think that Ban Manaphy is going to exploit that throughout the game. I don't know that I love this team selection for Zokuru either, because it's just so known and so predictable, I would say, unless he made some switch to it, some modification, some tweak to try to surprise his opponents. But knowing Zokuru and how stubborn he is and how wholeheartedly he believes in this team, I'd say he probably didn't do that. Ban Manaphy is going to BP to a Gengar here behind a sub, which is going to blank Seismic Toss. Going to show Focus Punch, and Blissey does pop the sub, but she's going to have to eat that fist, and she's going to take 47% from doing that. It's going to leave her in a precarious position here. She could get blown up on and killed. She could get focused again if she doesn't go for the Ice Beam. And she's going to get out of the way, which I think is wise. Claydol comes in, takes almost nothing from that Focus Punch. This is a very safe switch, and I agree with this play from Zokuru. Now T-Tar comes in, and it's going to blank a Psychic, so good switch from Ban Manaphy. This is potentially dangerous to the doll a number of ways. Could be physical and threaten it. Could also have Crunch or Pursuit here. No, he's actually got Counter. He's going to eat a 60% Earthquake, but that's going to easily kill the Claydol in retaliation. However, we knew Zokuru was going to have a Dugtrio, so this is actually just going to be a 1-for-1 trade. Down goes the tower, down goes the doll, and we've got ourselves a 5-5. Ban Manaphy can retaliate any way he wants, and his follow-up is going to be Gengar, which is quite dangerous to the squad of Zokuru here. He lost his doll, so how is he going to deal with this? The answer is Milotic. It's going to be a Thunderbolt, heavy 42% damage, but he will live another one pending a critical hit. Going to go for it anyway to keep the pressure on, fishing for Paras, fishing for crits, finds neither, and Zokuru going to recover up to the magic number. Will Gengar continue getting him here with Thunderbolts? Yep, going to go for it again. Fishing for crit or para, doesn't find it, and it's recover again. Zokuru 10% healthier than he was before. Will Ban Manaphy continue to push the issue? Could go to Zapdos here. T-Tar comes in at this point. That would have been a godly Focus Punch, but who Focus Punches there? Ban Manaphy goes for Thunderbolt, and 24% on the lefty's Tar prompts the switch at this point. Here is Swampert, and here is Rock Slide, respectively. Critical hit, certainly not the worst critical hit in the world. 30% meh, Swampert fine. Swampert has lefties. Here comes Milotic. And Zapdos comes in. Nice double switch from Ban Manaphy, knowing Milo is going to come back. That's going to maintain the tempo advantage for Mana here. Milo obviously not about to stay in. Here comes the Bliss and Substitute respectively. Ban Manaphy dominating the tempo here. 2 turns in a row, knows exactly what his opponent's going to do. and he now has the ability to BP this sub wherever he wants. He's going to do exactly that, and an unrevealed Dugtrio is going to be the choice. That's bad news, Bears. Zokuru panicking, going for the Ice Beam to pop the sub so Gengar can't focus punch her down, but little does he know, there's a Dougie on the other side. There's an Earthquake that doesn't quite do it, but there's an Ice Beam that doesn't quite do it either, and the sand only affects one of them. That would be the Blissey, and down she goes. Dugtrio barely alive, but alive, and in this case, that's going to be good enough. Spikes come down for Zokuru, which may or may not kill the Dugtrio on the other side. If Ban Manaphy's last poke is a spinner, which it may or may not be, he can preserve the Dugtrio. If not, oh well. But Zokuru is going to outpredict Ban Manaphy here, and he's going to disrupt the focus punch that Gengar attempted to go for with not only a Drill Peck, but a critical hit Drill Peck. Thunderbolt 49%, and Drill Peck respectively. Zokuru is going to effectively take the lead here. It's 4-4, but remember that the Dugtrio is effectively dead when it steps on spikes. The question is, what is the last poke for Ban Manaphy? Thunderbolt there is going to essentially even us up. We have a 3-4, which is really a 3-3. Dugtrio, let's pause at this point. This is a crucial turn for Zokuru. What I very much think Zokuru needs to do here. Now he's representing Rock Slide, which would kill the Zapdos here, which of course the Swampert, or even the Dugtrio, which you can just fodder off, but I mean the Swampert doesn't care about it. And then we don't know the last poke for Ban Manaphy, but I mean I could take an educated guess as to what it is, and I think Jirachi makes the most sense. Could be Metagross, but like an Agilagross specifically. I think it's going to be one of those, but Dugtrio is representing Rock Slide here. What I think Zokuru needs to do to win this game is to click Earthquake. I think he has to stay in and click Earthquake. He could double back, but I don't know where that gets him. So if Zokuru were to double to Milo here, obviously if Zapdos stays in, that's real bad. But even if Zapdos BPs, I mean, he could worst case just like BP to Swampert and then just go right back to Zapdos. Also, if it is last poke, Jirachi or Meta, he can BP to that, and that's relatively safe against the Milo, especially if it's Rachi. He could just set up on the Milo for free. I don't know where that gets Zokuru. If he goes to the T-Tar here, the BP would just go to Swampert, and I don't know where that leaves you. It's so hard to Rock Slide here. Just like, if you Rock Slide here as Zokuru, and he just switches to Swampert, he just switches to Metagross or Rachi, I don't know where that leaves you. Zokuru needs to find a way to win the game. He has to seize the opportunity here. I really think the best play is Earthquake. If Dougie comes in, it dies. If Swampert comes into the spike and an Earthquake and then another Earthquake, you probably catch it. It depends on the exact set and EVs of the Swampert, but I mean, if this is an Adamant Doug, you're going to catch it. If it's a non-protect Swampert, you're going to catch it. And then the last poke here, if it is Meta or Jirachi, which I really think it is, and I think Zokuru should think that it is, if that comes in, that easily gets 2-hit KO'd. You take the first Earthquake, and then you're trapped, and then you follow up with another Earthquake. So I really think that the best line here for Zok is to simply click Earthquake. I don't like Rock Sliding here, and I really don't love double switching either. I think this is one of those turns where you have to pull the trigger and go for it. See what he does. I don't like the double back to Tyranitar here. Look what happened here. It is Jirachi, and if he just Earthquakes, this Jirachi's dead. He Earthquakes again, and look at the position that leaves Zokuru in. Earthquake catches Tower on the way in. Catches Rachi on the way in, then you Earthquake again, and it's dead. Dugtrio effectively dead. We now know that because there's no Spiker, so that's going to die whenever it comes in. That would leave you with Dugtrio, Milo, and healthy T-Tar against Zapdos, Swampert. I'd be very happy with that position. Milo, a hard counter to Swampert. Zapdos would die to Rock Slide from Dougie, or, I mean, easily loses to the T-Tower 1v1. Healthy T-Tower can deal with the Zapdos. I feel that Zokuru would be in a great position if he had made that play. By not doing that, you're giving Ban Manaphy a way back into this game. We'll see if it ends up punishing him. Hidden Power, Grass, and Earthquake, respectively. I can already see where this is going. This is going to snowball badly for Zokuru. Watch what's going to happen here. So here's Hidden Power, Grass, and here's the Earthquake. Okay, you have the Rachi. That's great. Here is the problem. Now that you don't have the healthy Tyranitar, now the Zapdos goes nuts. Now the Zapdos can kill the Tyre. Zapdos comes in on this next turn. It clicks HP Grass for free. There's no switch in for Zokuru. Milo can't switch into Zapdos, obviously. Dugtrio doesn't want to switch into HP Grass. And remember, Ban Manaphy has the option to fodder off his own Dug at any time to prevent a play from Zokuru and to get a free switch. I think preserving the health on the Tyranitar was absolutely imperative here. And Zokuru didn't do that. And now I think he's going to have some problems. I think that the Zapdos is going to go nutty here. I mean, the other line, see, there's the Hidden Power Grass and the knockout. Had he gone for the Earthquake, not only does he pick off the Rachi without it doing anything, but he also preserves health on his Tyranitar, which I think would have been crucial here. Here's the Dugtrio sack that we were talking about for Ban Manaphy. It's a 2-2. That's going to enable Swampert to come in. It's safe from anything other than a critical hit. Milotic comes in as the hard counter to Swampert. Ban Manaphy not able to pull the trigger and go to Zapdos here, but I think he still can, basically for free at 51%. Pending a Milo crit, he can't kill him here. Ban Manaphy going to be uber safe and stay in. He's going to play around a hypothetical Ice Beam here, which does not come. There's also, I guess, Hypnosis, but like, again, because Zokuru opted to use this team that is so well known, and he didn't tweak it at all, Ban Manaphy should know that there is no Ice Beam, there is no Hypnosis on the other side. He should know exactly what he is up against here. Swampert going to show itself to be Refresh, doesn't care about the Toxic, and now we're just going to go through the motions, but ultimately, if the Zapdos finds an opportunity to come in and doesn't get crit on the way in, it's going to be a real problem. So what we're going to see here is we're going to see Swampert getting Milotic into damned if you do, damned if you don't range. He's going to get it into range where Zapdos can come in. Whether the Milotic goes for Surf or Recover on that turn doesn't matter. It works out effectively the same because Manaphy in either case would be safe from anything but a crit. So what he wants to do, Ban Manaphy, is he wants to get the Zapdos in on a turn where, like this is a great example. So it doesn't matter, had Milo gone for Surf there or Recover, Zapdos going to sneak in either way, and now Milotic is in some trouble pending an immediate critical hit, which he does not find, and that's it, right? I mean, click HP Grass, call it a day. There's Hidden Power. Well, crit certainly ensures it if there were any doubt before, and that's going to be the concession from Zokuru. I feel like this game was very winnable from Zokuru. Now, granted, if he had won this game, we would go to a Game 3. Who knows what would happen after that? But I do feel that this game was very winnable for Zokuru. I feel there's two things for me. I think the one thing on turn 22, I really think the Dugtrio should have just clicked Earthquake. I think we'd be looking at a whole different game. He free kills the Rachi there. He has a completely healthy T-Tar, and I think Zokuru would absolutely have the edge in this late game and would have had a great chance to proceed to win. So I think in-game, that was the big turn that Zokuru needed to do differently and needed to pull the trigger. My second thing is outside of the game, the team choices for Zokuru. I think the first team isn't that good, is known, is something on turn 2 you can go, yep, I know what I'm up against, and is a matchup fishy team. And I think this second one, even though this is a good team, again, is so known and so predictable, it's just another team where on turn 2 your opponent can go, okay, I know exactly, and I mean exactly, set for set, move for move, exactly what I'm up against. And I think he did that twice in a row, and I think being that level of predictable, I think that I think when the opponent on turn 2 in both games can literally pull his opponent's team from his builder and just study everything, I think it's a disadvantage. And I think, I mean, not that Ben Manaphy did anything wrong in doing that. I would do the exact same thing. It's on Zokuru for using very predictable teams as opposed to being on Ben Manaphy for just being in tune with the meta and knowing those teams. But I think for Zokuru to find success in the lower bracket, which is indeed where he is now, he's going to have to mix it up. He's going to have to use things where the opponent cannot instantly identify what it is, things that are not super well known and easily identifiable, and go from there. I think Zokuru played fine other than not pulling the trigger on the Doug Trio, but I don't think that was the issue. I think team choice was absolutely a factor here. Ben Manaphy using original stuff, I believe, and playing really well is going to get it done. So he's going to be in the upper bracket, Ben Manaphy, and he's going to have the week off next week. Zokuru 1-1, now in the lower bracket, is going to have to play again next week. In the meantime, thumbs up if you like the video, and I will see you guys with more content.